Right, hello everyone. As you can see, I have Skype open and some notes here. I have, I've had far too much of this evening. It's not even 7 o'clock yet. Well, no, it is 7 o'clock. Good grief. Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that, but it's the noise outside from all those cunting people who won't shut the fuck up, and people out there as well. I'm gonna just make a little video, just addressing this topic. My ongoing dissection of the modern city as a phenomenon, and forgive me if I'm incoherent. Mead is not weak. Anyway, but it's the noise, it's the mass, it's the quantity. As I keep repeating, the idea of it's so bizarre to think about, because I don't think my mind has. I'm not attuned to it, and I'm not used to it. I don't live around noise. When I close my window at night in my bedroom, I hear nothing, aside from if my Polish neighbours decide to stay up until like 10 o'clock in the evening, gibbering, which they sometimes do, but they shut up after a while. Dear. It's incredible how people cope with this sort of thing, but they don't cope with it, do they? Coping suggests a choice. You are engaging with a thing. You're choosing to enact upon something. You're coping. You are accepting the burden of something thrust upon you in a conscious and lived manner. I don't think people do that in these sorts of big cities. I think people just numb themselves to it. You see it when you walk past people. You kind of navigate your way through a sea of bodies, and people bump into each other and brush past each other, and there's no. This is interesting. I noticed this earlier today. In the southwest, in a small rural-ish kind of city like Exeter, at zebra crossings, which is a crossing on a road where, for you Americans, you stand and you wait on the pavement at the zebra crossing, and a car can or cannot choose to stop. It doesn't have to, but it's a suggestion. Basically, a zebra crossing is not. The cars don't have to stop. Drivers don't have to stop. So when you cross over a zebra crossing, as a pedestrian, sorry. You say thank you. You put your hand up or something. You indicate thank you to the driver. You didn't fucking kill me. In London, no one does that, and there are zebra crossings in London. Or even if it's like if you're jaywalking, you just cross the street because there aren't any cars in the immediate vicinity. If you're there and a car suddenly emerges and slows down for you, you'd put your hand up and say thank you. Thank you for not killing me today. I appreciate it. That you're paying attention. You're a good driver. However, in London, no one does that. They just carry on walking, oblivious. It has to be said, blacks are really bad at doing this. I think you have it in America as well. Blacks would just cross the road, regardless of whether there's cars or not. On my last trip to London, a couple of months ago, this dude just decided to cross the street, and there were fucking cars coming, and they had to stop or slow down significantly for him, and they were tooting, and the rest he didn't do anything. He just ignored them and just carried on walking. Just weird, like it's like what we'd call antisocial behaviour is the norm here in a metropolis. It's strange. People are numb, they're kind of dull. Because there's so much psychological and emotional stimuli that to approach or address it all would be overburdening one's senses. And so people seem to switch off. They shut off in a way. And that just makes it even worse. Because that means no one is acting with any kind of community or humanity. And there is no community in a place like London. Let's not let's keep kicking that dead horse, because it has to be said time and time again. It's so true. There is no the only fucking common factor between people here is money. That's it. That's it. That's the only. It's just money, wealth, pleasure, greed. Their own fucking indulgence in, the flesh. That's it. Every single foreigner here is here for money, without any exceptions. That, to me, is not actually a justified reason to do a thing just because of money. And nor should it be to anyone who's actually worth anything. But how can you expect an environment where this is the case to not be cold and alien? It's bizarre. Speaking to women about this, women in my family, they seem to want to go to places like this and live here. I don't know why that is. Speaking to men, they seem more suspicious and they would understand what I'm saying at a more intuitive level without me having to explain it. Maybe that's just my circumstances, because most of the men I speak to are like-minded and most of the women I speak to are normal. They aren't part of the reactor sphere or alt-right or whatever. So maybe it's my experience there is biased in that direction. But even if so, that doesn't surprise me that the idea of a woman being more attuned to this space, young women in particular. I mean, you have this cliche, this liberal but modern bourgeois cliche of the young woman who just wants to travel and see the world. Just really fucking promiscuous behaviour that does nothing but just nothing but signal how interiorly formless and disordered she is. Men as well, boys as well. But it seems to be women seem more prone to this. On Tumblr, it's fucking notorious. And Tumblr, I know, is a shitty website, but it's a good place to see examples of this. Of it's a stereotype that a teenage girl wants an apartment in New York or in London or any of these other kind of metropolises. Why? Why would you want that? It makes no sense. There's nothing here of any value apart from money, apart from a vast quantity of fucking money. There's no community here. There's no loyalty to anyone here. There are no bonds between individuals apart from, immediate familial bonds or, ethno-religious bonds, such as Muslims have each other's backs and things like this. But, deracinated, modern, Western people, not just girls, but people, there's nothing for you here apart from money. There's nothing. It's an abyss. It doesn't matter how many fucking Union Jack flags there are. If everyone around you is African and speaking French, it doesn't. You can have as many Union Jacks as you like. It doesn't make it Britain or England. It's just such an alien environment. It really is. It's bizarre for me to experience it. Ugh. I moan about this topic so much, but it really has to. I have to say it. I have to get it out of my system. Just the bewilderment. Living in the southwestern countryside, basically. I mean, Exeter is a city. It is a city with several tens of thousands of people living in it. However, it isn't on the same level that London is, of course. And in Exeter there is still a history, and it is still at 90% native English. In Exeter you can see the cathedral and the Tudor buildings and the quayside, and surrounding it all are people who live in Exeter who belong there, who have some sort of connection with these things, with these physical artefacts. with the religion, with the Anglicanism of the church. As I'm not an Anglican, but with the Anglicanism of the church, it's Anglicanism from a religious point of view might be heretical, but it's still a religious form which has existed for a long period of time, and it has itself embedded in the culture and in the race. It has some ties there and connections there. There's a continuity between the people and that form, that religious form. And Catholicism as well. There are Catholic churches in Exeter. But you have this kind of continuum between the people and what you observe, even if the people weren't there. With London, you don't get that. I would dare say less than 50% of the people who I've seen today were English, or were even European. Vast majority were East Asian, and then coming in close second, Africans or Caribbeans. Caribbean people, you know what I mean? Ah, dear. What a strange place. I wonder how long this will last. Not long. I don't think it will last another century. I don't think it'll even last another 50 years. I think it'll be 50 years before things really start to break down civilly. And must say, don't expect the darkies to pile up against Whitey before I get some comments saying that. No, I believe if there is going to be conflict here between groups, it'll be all groups against all groups. Muslims against the Africans, or the Africans who aren't Muslim. You know, against the East Asians, against the native Englishmen, against the East Europeans, and all the rest. Once the money dries up, and it will do, because that's basic economics. No economic system lasts forever, is stable forever, is prosperous forever. When the money goes away, which is the only binding facet here, what is there? Not everyone is a fucking liberal. Not everyone is a tolerant, like, humanistic progressive who wants to love everyone, you know, and all the rest. The world isn't like that. It's more nuanced and more complicated than that. It just strikes me as totally as total and utter palpable naivety that your average liberal thinks that what's out there is a good thing. It's a positive thing. When it's an abyss, there's nothing there apart from money and capital. Anyway, I'll shut the fuck up. Oh dear. Thank you for listening.